Hello everyone, Professor Cruzluck here. So since the start of the semester, I haven't been able to make many videos related to ongoing current events because most of the videos I've been making are related to classes I'm teaching. But there was something I wanted to talk about, a video I wanted to make, and this was Russia's drone incursion into Poland, which happened on September 9th and 10th of this year. So, on the night of September 9th, the war in Ukraine kind of took a bit of a change as drones entered NATO territory. So really, since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the fighting has been intense, but largely contained within Ukraine borders. Some in Russia, as Ukrainian soldiers and forces entered Russia, but the fighting had really been contained to those two areas. But on September 9th, Russia manufactured drones entered Polish airspace, marking the most serious violation of NATO territory to date during the war. So approximately 11:30 local time, Polish radar systems detected multiple unidentified aircraft approaching from the east. Subsequent assessments identified these flying objects as drones, launched as part of Russia's coordinated strike against Ukraine and their infrastructure, their energy sector. But unlike previous incidents confined to Ukrainian territory again, this time drones penetrated Polish airspace. So preliminary reports indicated that as many as 19 drones entered Polish skies, with flight paths suggesting launches from both Belarus and Russia. And you may have seen that there have been military operations occurring in Belarus, Belarusian-led coordinated efforts. And so you may have seen that in the news. And so these drones were launched from both Belarus and Russia. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky assessed that at least 8 drones were intentionally directed towards Polish territory, undermining Moscow's claims that they were accidental strays into Polish territory. So the incident was therefore widely interpreted not as navigational mishap that the drones just accidentally entered Polish airspace, but rather as a deliberate probe of NATO's defenses. So NATO did immediately respond. Polish military acted rapidly. F-16 fighter aircraft scrambled from eastern bases supported by Allied assets. Dutch F-35s conducted patrols, while Italian surveillance and refueling aircraft provided operational support. German air defense systems were placed on alert. So NATO acted, NATO responded. And these engagements continued for several hours, and by dawn, Polish authorities confirmed the destruction of 2 drones, with a third assessed as highly likely to have been downed. So information is still emerging and coming out, but debris was scattered across multiple provinces, some of which were as far as 240 kilometers from Belarus. So this is the first big incursion into NATO airspace. We saw earlier in the conflict where there had been reports that drones had entered Polish airspace. It eventually turned out that wasn't true. So this is really an unprecedented move by the Russians. So Poland's leadership framed the incident as a deliberate provocation. Polish Prime Minister said these were deliberate. Prime Minister Donald Tusk denounced the incursion as a large-scale provocation designed to intimidate and divide NATO. So again, this is the first time we've seen such a large scale incursion. Russian officials denied deliberate aggression, attributing the incident to navigational errors or potential electronic warfare interference from Ukraine. Belarus echoed these claims of denial, while Western officials expressed skepticism of that account by the Russians, noting that the drones penetrated deeply into Polish territory along what appeared to be deliberate flight paths. It didn't just skirt the edge of Polish airspace. So analysts have concluded that the incursion likely represented a calculated probe to test NATO's defenses and to signal cost to Poland for its strong support of Ukraine. So some good newspaper accounts from The Guardian, from the BBC, from the Washington Post that were quoting analysts, defense officials, saying, yeah, this was probably intentional. So if the incursion carried deliberate incursion into the Polish airspace, it does carry significant symbolic weight. Really, for the first time in the conflict, NATO forces directly engaged and destroyed Russian drones over NATO alliance territory. This fact alone represents a significant escalation in the geographic scope of the war. The event, the drone incursion, the shooting down of drones, also highlights the operational challenges of modern air defense. Drones, as we know, as we've been reading about and following throughout the conflict, because the use of drones is so prominent in Ukraine, we know that drones are getting smaller, they're getting harder to track, they're being frequently deployed in swarms, rendering them more difficult to intercept than conventional aircraft. Analysts have warned, again, you can see this analysis in quite a few publications, that analysts are warning that defending against mass drone incursions may be a central test to NATO's military adaptation, and if this changing landscape of modern conflict. And most critically, the incident underscored the narrow margin from its calculation. Had the drone strikes actually hit civilian facilities, caused Polish fatalities, or had hit military infrastructure, then we start talking about Article 5 of NATO. Are these drone attacks actually an attack against Poland? But fortunately, there weren't casualties in Poland. Debris was scattered, but the big takeaway there is just about that there was territorial incursion. So this episode kind of reinforces Poland's position as NATO's frontline state. Since 2022, Poland has been among Ukraine's strongest supporters, providing military aid, hosting refugees, lobbying for harsher sanctions against Russia. That role has simultaneously elevated Poland's strategic importance and made it a likely target for Russian signaling and coercion. Earlier on in the conflict, we would see many analysts who were talking about, will Russia actually start to target Polish sites across the Ukrainian border where American supplies are crossing? That never really came to fruition, but now we are starting to see, are drones going to become the next battle space in Poland, or was this just a one-off event? So for NATO, the incident certainly served as both a demonstration of capacity and a reminder of restraint. The alliance's coordinated response demonstrated readiness, but by limiting its reaction to just Article 4 consultations, NATO emphasized caution, avoiding direct escalatory spiral towards and with Russia. So I just wanted to make a video kind of talking about this. I know you've probably seen it in the news, but there's a lot of going on in America right now with domestic politics that when this happened, it kind of made the front page of the Washington Post and the New York Times, but then was replaced with American internal politics. But we know that we did see that Donald Trump sent out I guess a truth social message talking about, oh, here he said something along the lines of here we go. So we had seen, and we'll probably continue to see how NATO countries react. Will they come out and make further statements condemning Russia's incursion into NATO airspace? Will Russia do it again? Will they do it quickly? Will they do it to show their usage and strength of drones? So as always, when we're thinking about and talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we just don't know what the future holds. We don't know what's going to happen from day to day or week to week. And that can be frustrating because when we try to analyze, well, what's going on? Is this going to lead us closer to the end of the conflict? Things are changing so fast, and things that we didn't see yesterday, we then see today and tomorrow, and vice versa. So it's we'll see what happens. The discussions that we thought we were going to see between Volodymyr Zelensky, Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump, we haven't really heard anything else about those. So kind of where the conflict stands at the moment. Thank you.